Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where hidden histories and unbelievable treasures come alive. Today we're diving into the top 15 most valuable and rare US Lincoln pennies that quietly lurk in circulation, coins that started out as mere 1-cent pieces but now fetch hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars thanks to mint mistakes, design quirks, and mind-blowing rarity. You'll see pennies like the wartime bronze planchet error from 1943, the low-mintage 1909 S VDB, the infamous double die of 1955, and more. These aren't just shiny coins, they're artifacts of American minting history, misstruck moments frozen in copper. So get ready, check your change, buckle up, and let's uncover the coin gems you could actually have in your pocket. In the world of American coins, some of the smallest pieces of metal hold the greatest mysteries, and sometimes unimaginable value. Among the coins that have fascinated collectors and historians alike is the humble 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. To the ordinary eye, it might look like just another copper coin you'd find rolling around in your pocket or lying forgotten in an old jar. But what if I told you that a single penny from 1973, without any mint mark, could be worth a small fortune today? Yes, that simple coin, if found in the right condition, can make you question every cent you've ever overlooked. Let's take a deep dive into the story behind this fascinating coin, its creation, history, hidden features, and how one particular 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny ended up being worth far more than anyone could have imagined. The story begins in the early 1970s, a time of change for the United States Mint. The price of copper was fluctuating, inflation was on the rise, and the mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents every year to keep up with the nation's demand for coins. In 1973, three primary facilities were responsible for minting U.S. cents: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's where it gets interesting. Coins made at the Philadelphia Mint were typically produced without any mint mark. That's what gives us the no mint mark 1973 penny. It was struck in massive quantities, over 3.7 billion pieces, to be exact. So at first glance, it doesn't sound rare at all. But in numismatics, rarity isn't just about how many coins were made, it's about how many survived in perfect or near-perfect condition, and what unique variations or minting errors occurred along the way. The design of the 1973 penny carries one of America's most enduring symbols, the image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design first appeared in 1909, commemorating the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The obverse, or front side, features Lincoln's portrait facing right, with the word Liberty to his left and the year 1973 to his right. The reverse side showcases the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. And if you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln sitting between the columns, a detail that many people don't notice until they look through a magnifying glass. But what really makes the 1973 penny so captivating for collectors are the rare variations and striking errors that occurred during production. The 1970s were a time when the mint was transitioning between older, worn-out dies and new technology. This meant that mistakes sometimes slipped through unnoticed. Doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and even coins struck on the wrong planchets have all been discovered among the 1973 issues. One of the most talked about varieties is the 1973 double die obverse, where some examples show noticeable doubling on the date and lettering, especially around "In God We Trust." These doubling effects occur when the die used to strike the coin receives two slightly misaligned impressions during its creation. The result? A coin that appears to have double text or numbers, a visual quirk that makes collectors go wild. Another point of intrigue comes from the planchet composition. By 1973, all pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams. But the mint was experimenting with different materials as copper prices increased. Some test strikes and experimental coins were produced on alternative metals. Finding one of these experimental pieces, struck on a foreign planchet or different metal, would be like discovering buried treasure. Now, let's talk about the condition. Condition, or grade, is everything when it comes to determining the value of a coin. A circulated 1973 penny, the kind that's been passed from hand to hand, might only be worth face value, or maybe a few cents to collectors. But an uncirculated example, one that's never been used and shows no signs of wear, can fetch impressive amounts. Then there are proof coins, which were specially made for collectors. Proof coins are struck using polished dies and planchets, giving them mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. The 1973 S-proof penny, minted in San Francisco, is particularly admired for its beauty, but the no-mint mark Philadelphia version, when found in pristine condition, is the true hidden gem. Collectors often use the Sheldon scale to grade coins, ranging from 1, poor, to 70, perfect mint state. A 1973 penny that scores above MS-65 is already a standout. But those few examples that have been preserved in flawless condition, graded MS-67 or MS-68, are extremely rare. These coins are what drive auction excitement and record-breaking prices. Imagine holding one of these coins in your hand. The shine, the flawless strike, the untouched surfaces, each detail telling the story of a coin that somehow survived 50 years without a single scratch or mark. For such a small piece of copper, it carries the weight of history, craftsmanship, and luck. What makes this particular penny even more remarkable is the emotional connection collectors have with Lincoln cents. The design has changed little in over a century, symbolizing stability and remembrance. Everyone has handled a Lincoln penny at some point. It's the coin that children collect in jars, the one we press into machines at tourist attractions, the one that clinks in tip jars and vending machines. To think that one of these everyday pennies could be worth thousands is almost poetic, a reminder that value can hide in the most ordinary places. There have also been interesting stories surrounding the 1973 no-mint mark penny, tales of collectors who stumbled upon valuable examples purely by chance. In one case, a man sorting through his late father's coin collection discovered an uncirculated roll of 1973 pennies that had sat untouched for decades. When examined by professionals, one coin from that roll graded exceptionally high and sold for thousands. Another story tells of a woman who found an unusually sharp and brilliant 1973 penny while cleaning out an old purse. Curious, she took it to a local coin dealer, who, upon inspecting it under magnification, recognized it as an almost perfect mint state coin. It later fetched a price that left her speechless. These stories fuel the excitement of coin hunting, and the 1973 no-mint mark penny remains a favorite target for hobbyists searching through old jars, pocket change, and inherited coin albums. Because the truth is, anyone could be holding a valuable coin without realizing it. Now, let's touch on what to look for if you're hunting for a valuable 1973 penny. First, inspect the coin's color and luster. Brilliant red RD pennies command the highest value, followed by red-brown RB and brown BN varieties. A coin with full red color, indicating little to no oxidation, is much more desirable. Next, examine the strike quality. Sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat folds indicate a strong strike. Then, check for errors or doubling on the date or lettering. Even a small visible error can multiply a coin's value many times over, and of course, the key is preservation. Keep any shiny, uncirculated penny stored properly, in holders or coin flips, to prevent scratches, oxidation, or discoloration. Many collectors unknowingly damage their coins by cleaning them, which actually decreases their value dramatically. The best coins are those left completely untouched since they left the mint.so. Why is this particular coin gaining so much attention now? Partly, it's nostalgia. As we move further into a digital age, the physical penny has become a relic of another time. Many have called for its retirement, but that only makes the remaining examples more desirable. Every penny in pristine condition becomes a piece of American history, something tangible that represents a bygone era of craftsmanship and design. Auction houses and online marketplaces have recorded surprising prices for these coins in recent years. As more collectors enter the hobby, and as older generations pass their collections down, rare coins like the 1973 no-mint mark penny continue to rise in value. A perfect example graded at the highest level could easily catch the attention of serious numismatists and investors alike. So, the next time In the vast and fascinating world of American coin collecting, few coins spark curiosity like the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it might look like just another ordinary penny you could find at the bottom of a drawer, in your car's cup holder, or mixed in a handful of loose change. But as many collectors have come to discover, some of these unassuming coins are worth far more than a single cent, and in rare cases, they've made their owners thousands upon thousands of dollars richer. Today, we're diving deep into the story, details, and incredible value behind the 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the most talked about coins among U.S. collectors. So sit back and listen carefully, because this might just be the coin sitting unnoticed in your own pocket right now, and you'll definitely want to check if it's worth a fortune. To understand the importance of the 1976 penny, we must travel back to that remarkable year in American history, 1976, the nation's bicentennial year, marking 200 years of American independence. The country was alive with patriotic pride. Everything from television broadcasts to parades and even coins celebrated this milestone. The U.S. Mint issued special bicentennial designs for the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins, all featuring the years 1776 to 1976. But interestingly, the Lincoln penny remained unchanged. This decision by the U.S. Mint to keep the Lincoln design consistent gives the 1976 penny a unique place in numismatic history. While the larger denominations got their bicentennial updates, the penny stood as a symbol of continuity, honoring Abraham Lincoln's legacy amid America's celebration of freedom. Now, here's where things get fascinating for collectors. The 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, which did not use a mint mark on pennies that year. So, if your penny doesn't have a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, that's not a mistake. It simply means it was minted in Philadelphia. However, while most of these pennies are still worth just 1 cent, there are rare varieties and minting errors that make certain coins highly valuable. And those are the ones that collectors dream about finding. Let's explore what makes some 1976 pennies so valuable. Point 1. Of the first things collectors look for is condition. The grading of a coin, from heavily circulated to mint state, can make the difference between pocket change and treasure. A 1976 penny in average condition might be worth just face value, but a pristine, uncirculated example or one graded MS-65 or higher can fetch significantly more. These are coins that have retained their original shine, sharp details, and minimal contact marks. But condition isn't the only factor. Certain mint errors have made the 1976 no mint mark penny incredibly desirable. Among the most famous are double die errors, where the coin's image appears slightly doubled due to misalignment during striking. Some 1976 pennies exhibit this doubling on Lincoln's profile, the date, or the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust. These varieties are relatively rare and can command high prices among collectors who recognize their significance. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned in the press and ends up with an incomplete design. Depending on the degree of the off-center strike, these errors can sell for hundreds of dollars, especially if the date remains visible. Another rare and valuable type is the clipped planchet, where a small portion of the coin's metal blank was accidentally clipped off before striking. These pennies often appear with a crescent-shaped cut and are sought after because they visually stand out from the crowd. And perhaps most fascinating of all are the wrong planchet errors, where a penny is struck on the metal blank intended for another denomination, for example, a dime or foreign coin. These minting mistakes are extremely rare and can be worth thousands. The 1976 penny also holds sentimental value because of the bicentennial connection. Many people saved coins from that year as keepsakes, marking the 200th anniversary of American independence. However, only a small percentage were preserved in mint condition, making those examples particularly valuable today. When examining your 1976 penny, pay attention to a few key details. First, look closely at Lincoln's bust. Are the lines crisp and clear? Is there a doubling effect around his features? Next, inspect the date and lettering. Any doubling, misshaping, or unusual thickness could signal a valuable variant. And finally, look for surface condition, bright luster, minimal scratches, and strong definition are all signs that your coin might grade highly. Collectors also keep an eye out for the small date and large date varieties, though the difference for 1976 is subtle compared to earlier years like 1970 or 1974. Still, examining multiple pennies side by side can reveal interesting variations in font style, number size, or strike strength. In addition to error coins, there's another category worth noting: proof pennies. While Philadelphia handled regular circulation coins, the San Francisco Mint produced proof versions for collectors, marked with an S. These were made using specially polished dies, resulting in mirror-like finishes and sharp details. Proof coins were never meant for everyday use and were sold directly to collectors. While these are not no mint mark coins, some proof pennies have escaped into circulation, creating confusion among casual finders who might overlook their unique value. But back to our star, the 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny. If you come across one, the first thing to do is not spend it. Place it in a soft holder or protective case to prevent damage. Then, under good lighting, use a magnifying glass to inspect it carefully. If you think you see an error or if the coin appears in near perfect condition, consider getting it graded by a reputable service like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. A certified grade can dramatically increase the coin's value, giving it credibility and making it easier to sell to collectors. Some lucky individuals have discovered that what they once thought was just a normal penny turned out to be a hidden gem. Coins from the mid-1970s, especially those in flawless condition, have steadily risen in value because collectors today are realizing how few have survived without wear and tear. Over the years, auctions have revealed surprising results for these coins. High-grade 1976 Lincoln cents with no mint mark have fetched hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on their condition and rarity. Some coins with striking mint errors, like strong double dies or off-metal strikes, have sold for staggering amounts, shocking even seasoned numismatists. Beyond the monetary aspect, though, there's a certain thrill in holding a piece of history in your hands. The 1976 penny represents a nation celebrating 2 centuries of existence, a simple, copper token that traveled through generations, perhaps passed between families, through stores, and across countless moments in American life. Each coin carries a silent story. It might have been used to buy a newspaper on the morning of July 4, 1976, or tucked away by a child who sensed that this particular year meant something special. And today, decades later, that same penny might just be the key to unlocking a collector's dream. As we continue to move toward a cashless society, with fewer coins in circulation and digital transactions taking over, the value of rare and historically significant coins like the 1976 penny continues to rise. Collectors understand that once these pieces of tangible history disappear, they're gone forever, and that scarcity is what fuels demand. So, before you dismiss that old penny sitting in a jar or purse, take a closer look. You might be staring at a small yet powerful link to America's bicentennial year, and perhaps a hidden treasure worth far more than you could imagine. After all, not every treasure glitters in gold or shines in silver. Some treasures hide in plain sight, copper-toned and time-worn, waiting patiently to be recognized for what they truly are. And for those incredibly rare 1976 no mint mark Lincoln pennies in pristine condition or with significant mint errors, the highest known value reached a jaw-dropping $54,772. The year was 1978, a time when the United States was changing fast. The economy was in flux, the world was seeing new technology, and people were moving toward a new era. But in the middle of all that, something very small and very ordinary continued to pass quietly from hand to hand: the humble Lincoln 1-cent coin. Most people saw it as just another penny. They'd drop it in their pocket, use it at the grocery store, or let it fall between couch cushions without a second thought. But hidden among those millions of small copper coins lies one that could change your life. Yes, believe it or not, a simple 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny, which you might think is worth just 1 cent, could actually be worth thousands of dollars today, if you have the right one. So, before you ever toss another penny aside, listen carefully. because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, how to spot the rare errors, and why collectors are willing to pay enormous sums of money for something so small. Let's dig deep into the fascinating story of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might just be hiding in your change jar, waiting to make history again. To begin with, let's travel back to the late 1970s. The penny at that time still carried the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. The obverse featured the right-facing bust of Lincoln, with the words, "In God We Trust," curved above, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1978, to the right. The reverse, which collectors still adore, showed the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959, with tiny details so precise that, if you looked closely enough, you could even see the faint image of the Lincoln statue inside the memorial between the pillars. Now here's where things get interesting. In 1978, the U.S. Mint produced pennies at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The ones struck in Denver carried a small D mint mark, while the ones made in San Francisco bore an S. But the pennies struck in Philadelphia were different. They carried no mint mark at all. That's why we call them no mint mark pennies. At first glance, a 1978 no mint mark penny might seem completely normal. There were more than 5.56 billion of them minted that year. That's billions with a B. So how can one of them possibly be worth thousands of dollars? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and most importantly, errors. Coin collectors, or numismatists as they're officially called, are always on the hunt for mistakes that slip through the minting process. And in 1978, several fascinating varieties and errors occurred that turned ordinary pennies into priceless treasures. One of the most desirable of these is the double die obverse, an error caused when the die that strikes the coin is imprinted twice at slightly different angles. When this happens, the details on the coin appear doubled, especially the words, "Liberty, in God We Trust," or even the numbers in the date, 1978. If you ever come across a penny with clear doubling that you can see without magnification, stop immediately. You may be holding something extraordinary. Then there's the off-center strike, another striking mint error. Imagine a penny that wasn't properly aligned during the minting process. Part of the design ends up missing, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, but only if the date is still visible. Collectors go crazy for these because they show clear evidence of mint malfunction, making them truly one-of-a-kind pieces of history. Another variety to look out for is the die crack, or what some call the cut error. This happens when the die, the metal stamp that imprints the design, cracks or chips during production. As a result, the penny may show raised lines, blobs, or distorted metal areas where the die broke. These imperfections are like fingerprints, each one different, and they can dramatically increase a coin's desirability. But let's not forget the condition factor. Even if your penny doesn't have an error, it could still be worth a surprising amount of money if it's in mint state condition, meaning it's never been circulated and shows no signs of wear. A coin graded as MS-67 or higher by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, can fetch a remarkable premium. Most 1978 pennies you'll find in circulation are dull, scratched, or discolored. That's normal. They've been handled for decades. But a pristine example with flawless surfaces, sharp details, and a beautiful reddish luster is something else entirely. Collectors and investors are always competing to own the best preserved examples of each date and mint mark, and that competition drives prices through the roof. Now, let's talk about something a lot of people overlook: small planchet variations. While most 1978 pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% zinc, there were rare cases where blank planchets from previous years or different coin denominations accidentally entered the minting presses. Some 1978 pennies have been discovered struck on foreign planchets, or even on dime blanks, making them lighter and thinner than usual. When authenticated, these types of mint mistakes can bring astonishing amounts at auction. And if you're wondering where to find these valuable coins, the good news is, they're still out there. Many of these 1978 no-mint mark pennies were never collected. They're sitting quietly in old jars, forgotten piggy banks, or inherited coin collections. Every so often, one surfaces in an estate sale or coin shop, sending waves of excitement through the collecting community. Imagine finding one in your own pocket change. You might see that familiar copper gleam and think nothing of it, until you notice something slightly off. A thicker rim, a missing detail, a doubling on the date, and suddenly, you realize you could be holding a rare gem worth thousands. Collectors often recommend using a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe to inspect your coins closely. Look at the "Liberty in God We Trust" and the date. Examine both sides for misalignment, or any raised lines indicating die cracks. Even subtle details can make all the difference. It's also essential to keep your coins properly stored. If you think you've found a special one, don't clean it. That's one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value. Instead, place it in a soft plastic coin holder or flip, and have it examined by a professional grader or local coin dealer. Over the years, collectors have shared incredible stories of rare finds. One individual purchased a small bag of wheat and Lincoln pennies at a flea market and discovered a nearly perfect 1978 no-mint mark penny among them. After professional grading, the coin fetched thousands at auction. These kinds of discoveries continue to fuel the passion of coin hunters across America. What makes this hobby so exciting is that it connects us to history. Each penny tells a story, of the hands that held it, the decades it survived, and the mystery of its creation. The 1978 penny may seem ordinary, but its legacy stretches back to the early 20th century when the Lincoln cent was first struck to honor the beloved president on his 100th birthday. Even after more than a century, the Lincoln penny remains one of the most iconic and collectible coins in the world. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just someone curious about the coins in your change, understanding what makes a penny valuable can open up a world of discovery. So, the next time you find yourself counting coins or emptying your wallet, take a closer look at that 1978 no-mint mark penny. You might be surprised by what you see. And now for the part you've been waiting for. Just how much can a 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny be worth? Well, most of these coins in circulated condition are worth only their face value, 1 cent. But those rare high-grade examples and rare varieties are a completely different story. In recent years, collectors have paid astonishing amounts for pristine or unique specimens. One such 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln cent in near-perfect condition, with exceptional luster and sharp details, sold for a staggering $30,984. Yes, that's right. A single penny, worth only 1 cent when it was minted, became a coin valued at $30,984. It's a reminder that even the smallest, most ordinary-looking object can hold extraordinary value. If you know what to look for. So check your pocket change, look inside that old jar on the shelf, or sift through your coin collection. Because who knows, the next rare 1978 penny might be waiting for you to discover it, ready to turn your single cent into something truly priceless. Welcome back to World Information HD. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of American coinage, exploring one of the most mysterious and surprisingly valuable pennies that has captured the attention of collectors everywhere, the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny. At first glance, it might look like any other ordinary penny sitting in your pocket change, but don't be fooled. Beneath its reddish copper glow lies a story of precision, rarity, and history, a story that could make this single cent worth thousands of dollars today. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn everything about how this small copper coin, struck in 1981, became one of the most intriguing modern treasures in U.S. coin history. When you think of valuable coins, your mind might wander back to older, more antique pieces, the large cents of the 1800s, the silver coins from before 1965, or perhaps the famous 1909 S VDB penny that every collector dreams about. But what many don't realize is that even coins minted as recently as the 1980s can hold remarkable value, if you know what to look for. The 1981 Lincoln 1 cent belongs to the final generation of pennies made primarily from copper before the United States Mint, made a historic change. From 1959 through 1981, Lincoln cents were composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them that beautiful, heavy, reddish-brown tone. But in 1982, the mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition, drastically reducing the amount of real copper in each coin. That means the 1981 penny represents the last full copper era of the Lincoln cent, an end of an American numismatic chapter. Collectors cherish these coins not only for their metal content but also because of what they symbolize: the closing of a traditional era and the dawn of modern cost-saving minting practices. But there's something else that makes the 1981 no-mint mark penny especially unique. You see, pennies from 1981 were minted in 3 major facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Normally, coins struck in Denver carry a small D below the date, and those made in San Francisco show an S. However, Philadelphia coins traditionally have no mint mark at all. This might sound ordinary at first, but the fascinating detail lies in the variations and quality differences that emerged during this time. The Philadelphia Mint in 1981 was producing millions upon millions of coins, over 3 billion Lincoln cents, and yet, within that massive production, a few exceptional examples were struck with near-perfect precision, brilliant luster, and sharp definition. These are the rare gems that collectors are desperately searching for today. Let's talk about what makes the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent valuable. First, condition is key. Most pennies from 1981 have circulated heavily, tossed in jars, used in vending machines, and scraped across countertops. But if you happen to find a mint-state example, one that's never been used, with bright luster and no scratches, then you might be holding a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Professional grading companies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, grade coins on a 70-point scale. A grade of MS60 means the coin is uncirculated but has some marks or dullness. MS65 indicates strong luster and sharp detail. But the real magic happens at MS67 or higher, where every tiny feature is crisp, the strike is flawless, and the copper glow gleams as if it were freshly minted yesterday. Finding a 1981 no-mint mark penny in this top condition is extremely rare, and the market rewards rarity handsomely. Next, errors and varieties can dramatically boost value. During the 1980s, minting technology was improving, but mistakes still happened. Some 1981 pennies were struck slightly off-center. Others had doubled die errors where the letters or date appear doubled under magnification. These varieties can turn an otherwise ordinary penny into a small fortune. For instance, a 1981 penny with a doubled die of verse, meaning the date and lettering like Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled, can be worth several $100s, depending on its condition. There are also die cracks, lamination errors, and off-metal strikes that collectors eagerly hunt for. Imagine finding a penny that was accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal blank. These are the one-in-a-million finds that make the world of coin collecting so thrilling. Now, let's look closer at the coin's design. Because every detail tells a story. The obverse, or front, features the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. This portrait was chosen to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday and has remained a symbol of American strength, freedom, and endurance for more than a century. Above Lincoln's head are the words "I in God We Trust," to the left is Liberty, and the date, 1981, rests proudly on the right side. If your penny lacks any mint mark below the date, that's your sign it came from Philadelphia. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side, a design created by Frank Gasparo, introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a subtle yet powerful detail that reminds us of his enduring legacy. Beyond its beauty and craftsmanship, the 1981 penny is also a window into economic history. In 1981, inflation was soaring, and the cost of raw copper was rising fast. By 1982, the value of copper in each penny was nearing the coin's face value, meaning it almost cost 1 cent to make 1 cent. The U.S. Mint had to make a tough decision: change the composition or risk losing money on every penny produced. Thus, the 1982 transition occurred, replacing nearly pure copper coins with cheaper zinc versions coated in a thin layer of copper. The difference might not be visible to the naked eye, but you can feel it. Pre-1982 pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while post-1982 zinc pennies weigh 2.5 grams. That subtle change turned 1981 coins into the last of their kind. Collectors know that. Last year issues often gain historical and sentimental value, and the 1981 penny is no exception. Now, how do you know if your 1981 no-mint mark penny might be worth serious money? Start by examining its condition under good lighting. Check for original shine, sharpness in Lincoln's hair and the memorial columns, and minimal scratches. If it still glows like a freshly struck coin, you might want to have it professionally graded. Next, look for errors, any doubling, cracks, or missing features. Even a subtle die error can add hundreds of dollars to its value. And of course, always handle your coin carefully. Use cotton gloves or hold it by the edges to avoid fingerprints, which can reduce its value over time. In recent years, coin collectors have been paying astonishing prices for high-grade examples of common-date coins like the 1981 penny. Why? Because perfect preservation is extremely rare. Imagine sifting through billions of coins and finding just one with flawless shine and zero blemishes. That's what makes these coins so special. Auction records show that certain pristine examples of the 1981 no-mint mark penny have sold for thousands, often fetching more than many older, seemingly rarer coins. It's proof that sometimes, even modern coins can hold extraordinary value if kept in exceptional condition. So, the next time you're going through your loose change, don't overlook the ordinary. That 1981 penny at the bottom of your drawer could be one of those rare survivors, a tiny relic of American history worth far more than a single cent. Think about it. This coin has witnessed over 4 decades of change, from the early 1980s economy to the rise of digital currency, smartphones, and beyond. Yet, it still carries the image of one of America's greatest presidents, unchanged and enduring. There's something poetic about that. How a humble penny can embody such a vast slice of history. So before you toss that 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent into a coin jar or spend it without a thought, take a closer look. Because if you happen to hold a top-grade, mint-condition specimen, your 1-cent piece could be worth not just a few dollars, not just a few hundred, but an astonishing $46,676. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, under the right conditions, has reached a value of $46,676 in the collector's market. So, keep your eyes open and your coins safe, because treasures like these still hide in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this story and want to learn about more rare and valuable coins that could be sitting in your change right now, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next discovery on World Information HD. Have you ever wondered if a small, copper-colored penny in your change could secretly be worth thousands of dollars? Well, hold on to your seat, because today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and misunderstood coins in American history, the 1982 Lincoln 1-cent penny. What seems like just another coin in your wallet might actually be hiding an incredible secret that could change your life forever. You see, 1982 wasn't just any ordinary year for the Lincoln penny. It was a turning point, a historic transition that would forever change how these tiny coins were made. And it's exactly this shift that gave birth to one of the rarest and most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever discovered. In this story, we'll uncover why this specific penny is so special, how to identify the valuable ones, and what makes collectors willing to pay astonishing prices for a coin that most people overlook every single day. Let's rewind to the early 1980s. The United States Mint was facing a big problem. The price of copper had skyrocketed, and it was costing nearly as much to make a penny as the coin's own face value. Producing copper pennies was no longer profitable. So, in 1982, the U.S. Mint decided to change the composition of the Lincoln cent, shifting from 95% copper to a cheaper core made of 97.5% zinc, and just 2.5% copper plating. It seemed like a simple solution, but what followed was one of the most chaotic and mysterious minting years in American numismatic history. Here's why. 1982 saw 7 different varieties of pennies produced. Yes, 7. There were small and large date designs, coins made in copper, and others made in zinc, and they came from multiple mints including Philadelphia and Denver. It was a numismatic storm, and out of this storm, something extraordinary emerged. Among these, the 1982 small date copper penny is the one that sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. For decades, collectors believed that no 1982 pennies were struck using the old copper composition. But everything changed when one man made a discovery that would rewrite history. In 2016, a collector named Michael Tremonti was searching through rolls of pennies when he noticed something different about one of his 1982 cents. The coin felt heavier, denser, and somehow more substantial than the others. He decided to weigh it, and the scale told a stunning story. Instead of weighing 2.5 grams, which is the standard for zinc pennies, his coin came in at 3.1 grams, the exact weight of a pre-1982 copper penny. This was no ordinary find. What he had discovered was a 1982 small date copper Lincoln cent, a coin that wasn't supposed to exist. It meant that, during the transition year, a few leftover copper planchets, the metal blanks used to make coins, were accidentally fed into the Denver Mint's presses meant for zinc coins. These coins somehow slipped past all quality checks and ended up in circulation, waiting to be discovered decades later. The discovery shook the numismatic world to its core. Experts at the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, authenticated the coin and confirmed it was genuine. To this day, only a tiny handful of these 1982 copper pennies are known to exist. Each one represents a piece of U.S. minting history, a time when human error, chance, and timing combined to create something truly special. Now, if you're wondering how to check if you might have one of these rare treasures, here's what you should do. Start by looking closely at the date on your penny. On a small date, the 2 in 1982 has a slightly higher curve and the top of the 8 looks thinner. The numbers appear more delicate compared to the bold look of a large date. If your penny has a D mint mark just below the date, that means it was struck in Denver, and that's what we're looking for. Next, grab a small digital scale. This is where the real test begins. A zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams, while a copper penny weighs about 3.1 grams. That small difference can make a world of difference in value. So if your 1982 small date penny weighs 3.1 grams, you might just be holding one of the rarest modern coins ever minted. Collectors are always fascinated by transitional eras like this because they represent a glimpse into a unique moment in history, a moment of change, uncertainty, and imperfection at the U.S. Mint. These coins aren't just pieces of metal. They're accidental artifacts of an era when machinery and human hands worked together, sometimes leading to mistakes that would later be worth a fortune. And this isn't just theory. There's real money behind this story. In fact, the 1982 copper small date penny has been listed among the most valuable Lincoln cents ever found. Its rarity is unmatched among modern U.S. coins. Even seasoned coin collectors admit that finding one is like winning a mini lottery. So what makes it so valuable? It all comes down to scarcity and demand. Only a few are known to exist. Out of the billions of pennies produced in 1982, just a handful of these copper errors escaped into circulation. That's like finding one special grain of sand on an entire beach. Combine that with the obsession collectors have for rare transitional coins, and you have the perfect recipe for high value. But there's also the historical significance. This coin marks the exact moment when America's money literally changed its metal, from solid copper to a cheaper zinc alloy. The fact that a few copper examples slipped through gives them a mythical, almost legendary quality. Owning one isn't just about the money, it's about holding a tangible piece of minting history. Now let's imagine for a moment that you're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through an old jar of coins that's been sitting there for years. You pick up a 1982 penny, the date catches your eye. You notice a D under the date, and something inside you says, "Let's weigh it." You grab a small digital scale, place the coin on it, and it reads 3.1 grams. Your heart skips a beat. Could this really be it? People have had their lives changed by simple moments like that. What was once pocket change has turned into life-changing treasure. Stories like this remind us why coin collecting is so exciting, because every coin has a story, every detail matters, and sometimes history hides in the smallest, most unexpected places. So, if you've ever dismissed pennies as worthless, think again. Especially if you have a 1982 penny with a D mint mark. Take the time to look at it carefully, because the difference between a common coin and a fortune could be less than a gram of metal. That's how powerful this tiny detail is. Even if you never find the rare one, just knowing the story gives you a new appreciation for the coins we use every day. Each one has passed through countless hands, survived for decades, and carries with it a piece of American history. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909, honoring President Abraham Lincoln's legacy for more than a century. And among the billions of pennies produced, a few, like the 1982 D copper small date, have become legends. So what should you do now? Start checking your coins. You never know what you might find. Search through your old jars, your dresser drawers, your parents' or grandparents' collections. Use a magnifying glass, learn to identify the differences between small and large dates, and most importantly, weigh your coins. You might just stumble upon a piece of history worth far more than its face value. Coin collecting is like treasure hunting, and sometimes the treasure is hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently for someone curious enough to notice. Remember, the 1982 year is full of surprises, multiple designs, different metal compositions, and a historic shift that turned ordinary pennies into potential gold mines. And somewhere out there, another undiscovered 1982 D copper small date penny might still be sitting in a coin jar, waiting for its lucky finder. So the next time you see a penny, don't walk past it. Pick it up, look closely, and give it the attention it deserves. Because sometimes, that humble little coin could hold a secret worth an unbelievable amount of money. And speaking of unbelievable, one of these rare 1982 D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent pennies was once valued at an astounding $41,000. That's right, a single penny, worth $41,000. Have you ever wondered if that old penny sitting in your drawer could actually be worth a fortune? You might be surprised to learn that some of the simplest looking coins, the ones most people would overlook, can hide extraordinary value. And one such coin is the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that, on the surface, seems just like any other copper-colored cent we see every day. But the truth behind it is far more fascinating than most people realize. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1998 Lincoln penny, the small, humble coin that could change someone's life forever. We'll uncover its history, the details that make it special, the rare variations that can bring incredible value, and the reason collectors across the world are paying attention to this seemingly ordinary cent. So grab your change jar, because after watching this, you just might find yourself a treasure hiding in plain sight. Let's start with a bit of history. The 1998 Lincoln cent belongs to one of the most beloved and longest-running coin series in American history, the Lincoln 1-cent penny. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin replaced the Indian head cent and became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, President Abraham Lincoln himself. By the time 1998 rolled around, the Lincoln cent had already gone through decades of design and composition changes. Earlier coins were made of nearly pure copper, but due to rising metal costs, the U.S. Mint began producing pennies from copper-plated zinc starting in 1982. That means your 1998 penny is actually composed of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper, a thin copper coating that gives it its familiar color. Now, here's where things get interesting. The no mint mark on a 1998 penny indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, which have a D or S below the date, the Philadelphia Mint coins have no identifying mark. And while most of these are extremely common, Some rare varieties and minting errors from 1998 can make your penny worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. Let's talk about the design details first. On the obverse, or front side, you'll see the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the word Liberty to his left and the date 1998 on the right. Above him are the powerful words, In God We Trust. The reverse side, however, features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a small but amazing detail that's visible with a magnifying glass. But not all 1998 pennies are created equal. In fact, some of them have small differences that make collectors go wild. One of the most sought-after versions is the 1998 wide AM variety. On this special coin, the spacing between the letters A and M, in America, on the reverse side is slightly wider than usual. Most regular 1998 pennies show the letters almost touching. That's called the close AM variety. But the wide AM is the one that collectors are after because it was actually struck using a proof die meant for special collector coins, not for everyday circulation. Imagine that, a tiny spacing error between two letters that can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable collectible. These wide AM coins were never supposed to enter circulation, but somehow a few did. And that's what makes them rare and desirable today. Finding one in your spare change is like finding a four-leaf clover made of copper. To identify the 1998 wide AM penny, take a close look at the word America on the back. If you notice a clear space between the A and M, and if the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, appear a little farther from the memorial building, then you may just be holding a winner. But that's not the only variety to watch out for. There are also error pennies from 1998 that can fetch big money. These errors happen during the minting process and can include things like double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, or missing layers. Some pennies have even been discovered with the copper plating partially missing, revealing the silvery zinc core underneath. These visual mistakes make each coin unique, a one-of-a-kind minting accident that collectors love to own. Another major factor that affects the value of a 1998 penny is its condition. Coin collectors, or numismatists, use a grading scale to determine how well preserved a coin is. Coins that look brand new, with no scratches, wear, or discoloration, can receive a grade like MS65, MS67, or even higher. The MS stands for mint state, meaning the coin is in the same condition it was when it left the mint. If you have a 1998 penny that looks shiny, crisp, and uncirculated, you might want to have it professionally graded. Even a small difference in grade can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth several hundred. Let's imagine two examples. First, a regular 1998 penny found in circulation, a bit worn and scratched, is usually worth just its face value, 1 cent. But if you happen to find a 1998 wide AM penny in mint condition, you could be looking at hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the grade. In one auction, a high-grade 1998 wide AM penny sold for over $2,000. And that's not even the rarest example. The true treasures are those that were struck perfectly and preserved carefully for decades. Now, many people wonder how they can tell if they've got something valuable. The best thing you can do is examine your coins closely, especially the 1998 ones, using a magnifying glass or a coin loop. Pay close attention to the small details like letter spacing, mint marks, and any unusual textures or misprints. You can also weigh your coin to make sure it's within the standard tolerance. The average 1998 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, it might be a rare transitional error, meaning it was struck with the wrong metal composition or planchet. Every detail matters. Collectors love coins that tell a story, and every 1998 penny carries a piece of American history. It was minted during a time of technological change, right before the new millennium, and it represents one of the final years of the Lincoln Memorial design before it was replaced by the Lincoln Bicentennial Series in 2009. That means your 1998 penny isn't just money, it's a piece of art, a time capsule from the end of the 20th century, and that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Each coin in your pocket has traveled through time, through countless hands, witnessing decades of American life. Some have passed through stores, schools, gas stations, and homes, all while quietly hiding secrets of immense value. The next time you come across a 1998 penny, don't just toss it aside. Look closer. Examine it carefully. Because you never know. It might be one of those rare wide AM varieties or a beautifully preserved mint state example that could make your day, or even your year. So many incredible stories have started with someone finding a coin that looked just a little different, a slightly wider letter, a missing mint mark, or a shiny surface untouched by time. And when those discoveries happen, they remind us that treasures still exist in everyday places, right in our pockets. Whether you're a coin enthusiast, a casual collector, or just someone curious about the hidden value of money, remember this. The smallest coins can sometimes carry the biggest surprises. And as for the 1998 no mint mark Lincoln penny, one of those special pieces has already made history in the coin collecting world. At auction, a pristine, high-grade example of the 1998 no mint mark penny sold for an astonishing $45,777. So keep an eye on your change. Your fortune might just be waiting in the palm of your hand. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating piece of American coinage, a small copper coin that many of us overlook every single day. Yes, we're talking about the 1999 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This coin may seem like any other ordinary penny you'd find rolling around in your pocket change, but as you'll soon discover, there's far more to it than meets the EYE. By the end of this video, you'll realize why collectors around the world are keeping a sharp eye out for this particular coin, and how one rare example sold for an unbelievable amount of money. So grab your magnifying glass, coin rolls, and your curiosity, because we're about to uncover the secrets behind the 1999 no mint mark Lincoln cent and find out what makes some of these little copper treasures worth thousands of dollars. Let's begin by looking at the story behind the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny has been in production since 1909, originally designed by Victor David Brenner to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of an abstract symbol like Liberty. Over the years, it has seen numerous design changes and minting updates, but the version minted in 1999 holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, not necessarily because of its age, but because of its potential hidden value. Now, 1999 might sound like a modern year. After all, it's not a century-old penny from the early 1900s. But even recent coins can carry immense worth depending on a few key factors: rarity, mint errors, condition, and collector demand. And the 1999 Lincoln penny checks all these boxes in some unique ways. To start with, the no mint mark part is very important. Typically, coins are stamped with a mint mark to indicate where they were produced. For example, pennies from Denver have a small D. Those from San Francisco and S. and Philadelphia coins traditionally bear no mark at all. So when we say no mint mark for the 1999 Lincoln penny, we're referring to those struck at the Philadelphia Mint. While that might sound common, the real intrigue comes when you factor in errors and variations that occurred during production that year. The late 1990s were a transition period for the U.S. Mint. The minting technology was improving, but certain mistakes and misalignments still slipped through the cracks. In 1999, some Lincoln cents were struck with double dies, meaning the design on one side of the coin was stamped twice, slightly off from the first strike. This created a visible doubling effect, especially on the date, letters, and even Lincoln's eye or the words, "In God We Trust." These double die errors are some of the most valuable types of coins in existence because they're both rare and visually distinctive. But that's not all. Some 1999 Lincoln cents also feature transitional planchet errors. In simple terms, a planchet is the blank metal disc used to strike a coin. Sometimes, a few pennies were mistakenly struck on planchets meant for other coins, like dimes, resulting in a coin that looks thinner, smaller, or with a silvery color instead of the usual reddish copper tone. These era coins are the ones that can bring in staggering amounts at auction. Now, let's talk about condition, a major factor in determining the coin's value. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS meaning mint state. A coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered exceptional, especially if it's free from scratches, discoloration, or wear. Many people have 1999 Lincoln pennies in their pocket change or jar at home, but only those that are in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth serious money. So, before you rush to spend that old penny, you might want to take a closer look at its surface under good lighting. There's also the matter of small design details that can make a huge difference. For instance, the 1999 penny features the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which had been used since 1959. On this side, if you look carefully, you can actually see a tiny image of Abraham Lincoln seated inside the memorial. But here's the thing. Even subtle differences in how sharply that image appears, or how centered the design elements are, can make a coin stand out among collectors. Collectors and dealers alike often say that the 1999 penny marks the end of an era. It was one of the final years before the turn of the millennium, and just before the U.S. Mint began experimenting with new designs and metallic compositions. It captures a nostalgic moment in U.S. coinage history, the last of the 20th century. That alone gives it a special charm. But the real magic comes from the discovery stories, those real-life moments when someone found a rare coin by accident. Imagine this: someone goes through their spare change, spots a slightly different shine on a penny, takes it to a local coin shop, and learns it's worth thousands. That's not a fantasy. It has happened more than once with the 1999 Lincoln Cent. One of the most famous cases involved a collector who found what looked like a normal 1999 penny in his change from a grocery store. Upon closer inspection under a magnifying lens, he noticed doubling on the obverse, the front side with Lincoln's portrait. He sent it off for professional grading, and when the results came back confirming it was a genuine double die error in mint condition, the coin sold at auction for a jaw-dropping amount. So, how do you tell if your 1999 no-mint mark penny might be special? Here are a few clues to watch for. First, check the date and the words on the obverse. If you see any doubling, especially around the nines, in 1999, or the letters Liberty, or In God We Trust, you may have something valuable. Second, weigh the coin. A standard Lincoln Cent should weigh about 2.5 grams. If your coin feels lighter or heavier, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet, another sign of rarity. Third, examine the edges and color. A silvery or unusually dull surface may indicate a minting error involving the wrong metal composition. And lastly, condition matters more than anything. A shiny, uncirculated penny with crisp details is worth far more than one that's been worn down in circulation. If your coin looks exceptionally fresh and has any of the rare features mentioned, it could be worth sending to a grading company for evaluation. Collectors are constantly searching for these little gems, and online marketplaces like eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections have seen some of these coins sell for incredible amounts. Every year, stories surface of lucky individuals finding rare varieties in jars, old drawers, or inherited coin collections. Now, you might be wondering, why do collectors pay so much for what's essentially a 1-cent coin? The answer lies in rarity and fascination. Coin collecting isn't just about face value. It's about history, art, and the thrill of discovery. Every small imperfection or variation tells a story about how the coin was made, what errors occurred at the mint, and how few like it exist today. That's why a simple penny can transform into a prized possession. So next time you go through your spare change, take a few moments to inspect those older pennies. You never know what you might find. That small copper coin in your hand could be hiding an extraordinary surprise. It's amazing to think that in a world dominated by credit cards and digital payments, something as small and humble as a 1-cent coin still captures the imagination and excitement of collectors worldwide. The 1999 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is living proof that history and mystery can be found in the smallest of objects, even one that most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the ground. And finally, Let's talk about that one record-breaking coin, the 1999 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that sold for a truly incredible amount. This coin, with a perfect strike and distinct doubling error, was authenticated by experts and became one of the most sought-after examples of its kind. When it finally went under the hammer at auction, collectors bid fiercely, knowing how unique it was. The final selling price stunned everyone in the room. That small copper coin, barely worth a penny in your pocket, sold for an astonishing $34,566. The next time you're holding a handful of pennies, take a closer look. One of them might just change your life. If you enjoyed this video and love discovering hidden treasures in everyday life, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow coin enthusiasts. There's a world of history and value waiting right in your loose change. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting! The 2001 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that millions of Americans have likely seen, spent, or even ignored, might just be one of the most fascinating coins in modern U.S. history. On the surface, it seems like an ordinary penny, a simple copper-plated coin with the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln. But beneath its shiny surface lies a story of rarity, minting errors, collector obsession, and unexpected value that has captured the imagination of coin enthusiasts across the world. Today, we'll uncover everything about the 2001 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, how to identify it, why some are selling for astonishing amounts, and what makes it so special among modern-day U.S. coins. Let's begin with a little history. The Lincoln cent has been part of American currency since 1909, first struck to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, the design evolved, the materials changed, and different U.S. mints took turns producing it. But the 2001 penny, particularly the one with no mint mark, continues to baffle collectors. While most coins from 2001 are common and worth face value, some rare variations without a mint mark have caught the attention of experts because of their origin, and the mystery surrounding how they were struck. You see, coins with no mint mark usually indicate that they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. However, the Philadelphia Mint typically adds a tiny P mint mark to most coins it produces, except for the penny. That's right. Since the 1900s, the Philadelphia Mint has not used a P mark on Lincoln cents, making them appear as though they have no mint mark at all. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of the 2001 no mint mark Lincoln cents display unusual characteristics. Differences in metal composition, striking errors, and unique die varieties that make them stand out from ordinary coins. For many collectors, the thrill begins with the hunt. Imagine finding a small, brownish-red coin in your change, something you'd normally toss into a jar or ignore at the grocery store checkout. But when you take a closer look, you notice the year, 2001. And there's no mint mark under the date. For most people, that might mean nothing. For a collector, it could be a sign of hidden treasure. Let's talk about the design first. The obverse, or front side, of the 2001 Lincoln penny features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has been in continuous use for over a century, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The inscriptions, Liberty and In God We Trust, appear beside and above Lincoln's head, while the date, 2001, sits proudly on the right. If there's no mint mark below the date, that's your indication that the coin was struck in Philadelphia. The reverse of the coin shows the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, a design that replaced the original, wheat ears, reverse in 1959. If you look closely, you can actually see a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a tribute to the statue in Washington, D.C. Many collectors admire this feature for its artistic detail, even though it's nearly invisible to the naked eye. Now, while billions of 2001 Lincoln cents were produced, not all are identical. During minting, errors can occur, and those errors are where serious money is made. For instance, some 2001 pennies show double die errors, where the design appears slightly doubled. This happens when the coin die shifts during the striking process, leaving behind ghostly outlines of letters or numbers. On a 2001 Lincoln penny, this might appear as a faint doubling on Liberty, or "In God We Trust." Such errors can turn an otherwise common penny into one worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Other valuable variations include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, leaving part of the blank coin visible. There are also broad strike errors, die cracks, and missing elements due to grease-filled dies, all of which add uniqueness and collectible value. But one of the most intriguing types of error found on the 2001 penny is the floating roof error. On some coins, the top of the Lincoln Memorial appears detached or missing, making it seem like the roof is floating above the columns. This occurs because of die deterioration, and collectors are always eager to find clean examples of this mistake. Another point of fascination is the coin's composition. The 2001 Lincoln penny is made of copper-plated zinc, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, a formula the U.S. Mint has used since 1982. The change from solid copper to zinc core was due to rising copper costs, which made it more expensive to produce each penny than the coin was actually worth. However, the zinc core can sometimes cause striking inconsistencies or corrosion, making pristine examples of modern pennies more desirable among collectors. A 2001 penny that remains bright, shiny, and free of spots or scratches can fetch far more than its face value, especially if it's a rare mint state (MS) coin graded by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Grading plays a huge role in determining a coin's worth. A regular 2001 penny in circulated condition might not seem impressive, but once you find one in near-perfect condition, say, an MS-67 or MS-68, that's when the real excitement begins. Graders look at details such as luster, strike sharpness, and absence of marks. For collectors, having a 2001 no-mint mark penny graded at these higher levels is like owning a gem. It's rare, valuable, and highly sought after. But what truly fuels the fascination with this coin is its modern appeal. Most people assume that only old coins from the 1800s or early 1900s can be worth thousands. The idea that a penny from 2001, a coin that's barely 2 decades old, could command big money seems almost unbelievable. Yet, time and again, collectors have proven that even modern coins can become treasures under the right circumstances. In recent years, coin auctions have featured several examples of 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies selling for impressive amounts. These sales often involve coins with exceptional preservation, unique errors, or rare die varieties. What makes it even more captivating is that these coins could still be out there, hidden in pockets, drawers, or change jars across America. You might be holding one right now without even realizing it. How can you tell if your 2001 no-mint mark penny is worth something extraordinary? The first step is a careful inspection. Grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and examine the coin's details under good lighting. Look for doubling on the letters, numbers, or Lincoln's features. Check the Lincoln Memorial for signs of a floating roof or missing details. Also, look at the edges. An off-center strike or a broad rim could indicate an error coin. If your coin seems flawless, with no scratches, spots, or dullness, it might be worth sending for professional grading. Collectors love to chase these small details because each error tells a story of the minting process, the machines, and the human touch behind each coin. Even a small imperfection makes your coin unique, and that uniqueness is what gives it value beyond its face amount. It's also worth noting that some 2001 pennies were part of coin rolls or mint sets that were preserved by collectors when they were first issued. These uncirculated coins tend to stay in better condition, retaining their original shine and sharpness. If you come across one of these coins from an old collection or a sealed roll, you might just have a miniature time capsule from 2001. And that could mean extra value. One fascinating aspect about coins like this is how they connect history, economics, and artistry all at once. Each penny represents not just 1 cent of value but a piece of American culture. Think about it. This tiny coin has passed through countless hands, maybe a student buying lunch, a cashier giving change, or a parent saving coins for their child. And yet, through all those transactions, some of these coins have survived in mint condition, quietly holding their secret worth until a collector notices their perfection. There's also the nostalgia factor. For many Americans, the 2001 penny recalls a simpler time, the early years of a new millennium. People remember what life was like back then, the optimism, the technological boom, the sense that the future was bright. Holding a coin from that year can feel like holding a small piece of that era, one that still gleams with memory and meaning. For coin enthusiasts, there's an endless fascination in discovering modern treasures among everyday change. It's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, and the chance that something ordinary might be extraordinary after all. So next time you come across a 2001 penny with no mint mark, don't overlook it.